So let's start the podcast. Hello,
Great.
everybody. Welcome to Where the Magic Happens. Today we have Hakima as a guest. Hakima, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. So, yeah, my name is Hakima. I'm known as Hakima Tantrika. And I am an intimacy coach, a traditional Tantra teacher, and I'm also a blogger and I write about everything related to love, relationship, spirituality, connection with the self, intimacy, sexuality, very broad area. Yes.
Nice to meet you, Hakima.
Nice to meet you.
It's great to have you on this podcast. So let's sort of start off with one of the questions. What is intimacy, and how has this world sort of not understood real intimacy?
Yeah. So a lot of the time when we hear the words intimacy, we only think about physical intimacy, in other words, sexuality. And I think this is a big limitation because intimacy is everything that is bring connection between two different parts. So you can have intimacy with yourself, um, on different layer. It can be physical intimacy with yourself, for example, but it can be also emotional intimacy with the self, where you are connected to your own emotion, and you are able to understand your emotion, connect with them, comprehend them. There is also intellectual intimacy, where it's more an intimacy, a connection with your own thoughts and your own thoughts pattern. And then there is also like spiritual intimacy, where it's a connection with some things that is bigger than yourself, like a higher power, the divine, or whatever you want to call it, but something's higher to yourself. And so intimacy really have like two dimensions: that connection, that self connection with the self, but also connection with others. Um, so intimacy can be self connection. No, intimacy can be connection with others. So it's really like multi layer, and 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 it all come back to one key word, which is connection. And connection also means understanding, mastery, um, observation,
Mhm.
and all of that is intimacy. Yeah, yeah. And it's a very important aspect of our life and a very important aspect of ourself. Um, and sadly, there is not enough people who are taking the time to create an intimate connection with themselves or with others. We live in a world that is very disconnected, where everything we are trying to disconnect, to distract ourselves, because intimacy is not necessarily comfortable. Yeah, I like, yeah, it's not necessarily comfortable. It's required dedication and time and learning to become comfortable with all the different layers of the self and others.
Now, I don't know if you've heard of how two hearts can sort of achieve resonance. And that's sort of when there's a, have you seen the infinity symbol?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that, if we apply it to in the aspect of love, so that's two hearts. And when they sort of are connected with each other, they sort of have this resonance with each other. And that results in that love feeling.
Yes.
It's sort of to understand that specific aspect within people as well. So, what would you say from a perspective of a person? How would they differ in feeling when they are sort of in that deep, intimate sort of state rather than that, just physical closeness state?
Right. Yeah. So again, as I said, like there is different layers of intimacy. So right now, what I'm hearing is mostly about emotional intimacy, because how can I say? it's all about when there is, yes, this resonance, it's definitely it will create certain emotion in the body. It will create the emotions of comfort, the emotion of ease, sometimes the emotion of excitement, and the emotion. To me, love is not an emotion. Love is a need.
Hmm.
And when the need for love is met, then we have different emotions, physical reaction in the body that we associate as love. Again, calm, ease, peace, different body sensation. So yes, um, intimacy, when there is this deep resonance between two hearts, then you can say that the body feels a certain sensation, which is different to one another. There is not only one type of intimacy. I think it's a very unique experience depending on the people and what like what how they can what are the body emotions that can make them label that as intimacy, if that makes sense. So probably my understanding of intimacy or heart-to-heart connection
Hmm.
might be different than yours. Um, and and then you can meet two person who has the same definition. Then it's even a how can I say more powerful sense of intimacy. But yeah, there is different definition of intimacy. Yeah. I don't know if I have responded to your question,
Hmm.
if that makes sense.
And hmm. So in Neo Tantra and Tantra, what are Neo Tantra and Tantra? If you could explain a bit more about that.
Right. Yes. So we have two things here. Tantra, traditional Tantra, compared to what people know. So a lot of people knows about Neo Tantra. It's like when you go in this Western world in a Tantra workshop, for example, people will associate Tantra with sexuality, with physical intimacy or emotional intimacy. So only these two layers, and that's we have labeled that as Neo Tantra.
Hmm.
Um, but we need to go back into the origin of Tantra. So Tantra was a set of scripture that originated in India a long time ago, and that give a framework to better understand our life and the reality that we live in, and how to be actually intimate with all things, intimate with life itself, intimate with the world, intimate with ourselves, intimate with all that is. And just even this sentence, intimate with all that is
Hmm.
just so powerful. And it gives a set of practice on how to really live in intimacy with all that is, um, on all the different layers. And some of this practice can include meditation, it can include yoga, it can include different rituals. Um, and nothing was excluded from that intimacy with all that is. All aspect of ourself, all aspect of our body. Um, and so we have some things called traditional tantra,
Hmm.
and there is that originated in India. And then there is a layer of, how can I say, as all philosophy, sometimes we add a layer of religion. And so with set of practice that we have to practice. So traditional tantra comes from a philosophy that is a little bit mixed with the Hindu religion, if we can say so, because Hindu religion actually is there is so many branch and so many paths. But in the 70s, a group of Westerners like discovered about traditional tantra and were really surprised that the fact that most of Western philosophy would exclude the body, for example. but not traditional Tantra. Will really use the body to achieve intimacy with all that is. And so, to make it more accessible to a Western audience and also to match with the need of a Western audience, which in the 60s, 70s, there were all this revolution about sexual revolution that came from a long time of oppression, of sexual oppression. Um, a group of people, and we can talk about who are there, imported that that philosophy of traditional tantra and remasterizing it so that the focus is mostly on sexuality, and they call that neo tantra. So we have two things. One things that include intimacy with all things, traditional tantra. That has been a little bit some layers of religion. And then you have another things, which is mostly about physical and emotional intimacy that has get rid of everything that has a religion connotation, but is lacking spiritual intimacy, intellectual intimacy. So two different branch, traditional tantra, neo tantra, and I mean, like, there is no right, no wrong. It's just two different practices. Um, and one neo tantra has used these words, exotic words, that is tantra, to appeal to an audience.
Now, if we are to sort of take, mankind as a religion, where we're just having like, rather than Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Christian, because thousands of years ago, there weren't all of these religions. There was just, mankind as a religion. So when we take mankind as a religion, what would you say is maybe we take some aspects of Tantra, some of the teachings, and put it in a new discipline that we're trying to create right now. Um, what are some aspects of Tantra you would want to see in this new discipline?
Right. I guess, like, like people who also remasterize Tantra to Neo Tantra were trying to do the same thing. But it's all about, yes, the remembrance of who we are and remembrance of our relational nature to everything around us. Um, Humankind as a religion, for example, it's about uh, there is nobody above us, if I can say so, nobody and like below us. We are all interconnected. And because we are all interconnected, then there is a certain sense of responsibility of showing up as our best version to others. When you think about religion, what they really tried to do was to try to make humans act better, introducing some punishment here and there, the concept of heaven and hell. But it's all about how can we act better and act in the be better for the highest good. So if you take away all this element of punishment or ritual or things that religion has, it all come back to how can we be the best version of ourselves, and so that we can um, treat others the best way possible, because we are all interconnected. What I do to you will come back to me. What you do to me will come back to you. So, humankind as a religion, if I can say so, if yeah, it's all go back into remembrance of our interconnectedness and always doing our best, always doing our best.
Now,
Yeah,
how does a sort of karma of an individual sort of impact intimacy? Say, for example, there's a karma of X person, Y person. Now, it could be
Mhm.
within their karmic timeline. they are very positive things. Or in another karmic timeline, maybe there's a fight or something. So
Mhm.
what's your aspect on that? What's your viewpoint on that?
Right. So first of all, what is karma? Because karma can either, on one way, refer to reincarnation. Very often, like when we think about karma, is because what we did in a past life happens in that lifetime, etc. So, but not everybody believe in the concept of reincarnation, and so karma in one lifetime is fairness. And another words that people use is just about fairness, balance of energy in that current lifetime. So, just for the sake of not knowing who is going to listen to that, let's go into just karma in this lifetime. That our time on Earth, because this is all
I
what
believe
what
in
we know.
reincarnation and the cycle of life and death.
Yeah, I
So
do too. I do believe in reincarnation. So then karma is there is there is really um, a natural intelligence here that some people call God, some people call universe, some people call just life, but a natural intelligence first that create our body, and like natural intelligence that bring everything's in balance. So the concept of karma is just to bring back balance to all the energy that it is put out there in the world. If you put um, shadow in the world, like everything is contrast, right? To be able to experience light, we need darkness, and to experience darkness, we need light. All go in duality. Um, and we need these two things, and then that brings the middle. So karma is a little bit the same thing. It's you bring two different energy, and then that bring balance. And I forgot what was the original question, but if we believe that you know the whole thing is about remembering our interconnectedness, and that what we are going to put out there in the world, we are going to receive the counterbalance of energy. We want to stick in the middle a little bit, and or because otherwise life will bring us the balance, the opposite balance. If you put bad into this world or into others, in some way or another, it will come back to you, just to bring back balance. And that might not happen in this lifetime, but it's definitely will happen in the next lifetime. This is why it's very important to always ask ourselves, are we acting from a place of the highest good? And are we like just remembering that we are all interconnected, if that
yes.
makes sense?
Now what
Did
I've
I did
heard,
I answer your question?
yes, we are all interconnected in a
Yes.
way where, from my belief, it's let's say there's a higher power or there's God, and He
Hmm.
made us like little light bulbs, our souls basically.
Hmm.
So we're sort of part of that creator, who to me is Kabir. But
Hmm.
in general, it's sort of a very important thing to understand in intimacy, where, some people are unable to connect with each other. And there's this very big concept that I think everybody should know about.
Yeah. Yeah. Like if we take about how can I say? Oh, well, I don't know if it's a good idea to go to that topic about karma and intimacy. Because like it's yes, like there is many, like we also have to understand that there is many obstacle to intimacy, and many blocks to intimacy.
Mhm.
And so not everybody has the capacity to be in connection. Well, we all have this capacity of being in connection, but depending on our conditioning, this capacity maybe have been hindered because of, childhood trauma or wounds or fears. So not everybody is in capacity to really experience intimacy, and that's very sad. Let's take, for example, people who are on the narcissistic spectrum or even like, narcissistic personality disorder. They have shut down that particular aspect of humankind to be able to be intimate with one another. But that comes from like a lot of trauma, a lot of trauma. So very often we go into relationship with others and we want to experience that intimacy, but because we are capable of it and we expect that the other is capable of that connection, but it's not always the case. So we are kind of gambling when it comes to intimacy with others, because we don't really know if they can meet us in that middle ground. And that's why I really believe it starts with intimacy with the self.
Mhm.
There is no intimacy with others that is possible if we don't practice intimacy with the self. And it's
What
really
would you
debate.
say are some strategies where there are, some traumas within a person? How would you suggest a person sort of heals from them? Any
Right.
3 or 4 tips on that?
Yeah. So first, there need to be the willingness to address that. And to have the willingness to address that, we need to see the benefits of addressing that. And the benefit of addressing anything related to trauma is just to live a life that is more calm, more peaceful, more relaxed, more joyful. And so if that's enough of a good reason for someone to address trauma, well, then after having the willingness, um, the second thing is to learn to sit with discomfort. And sitting in discomfort is not easy, and that's where meditation comes in. Where meditation comes in, like the whole practice of meditation, um, we we think that is just to quiet the mind. To be honest, I'm meditating, but I haven't been able to fully quiet the mind. But the best way where I feel that meditation is very useful is when um, you have this discomfort and you sit with it and you observe it and you don't run away from it. That's intimacy, and that intimacy with the self, but that's also the only way out of trauma. Um, Now, there is one thing that is important still to notice is when we sit with that discomfort, there is one thing to sit with the emotion, one thing to sit with the thoughts related to the emotion. Um, Healing trauma is not effective if we repeat the story of the trauma, so the thoughts associated to the trauma. But it is healing trauma is just really caring for the emotions, for the body reaction to
Mhm.
that story, putting the story aside. Because the more we think about the story, the more we reinforce this body sensation, and it's not easy to do so. So, um, the strategy, if I repeat, like the willingness, um, because we understand the benefit, and then including any practice that make you sit with the discomfort. And so meditation is a good one. Yoga is a wonderful one too, and one that is maybe more gentle. than meditation because it make the body is in movement. So the body is busy, if we can say so. Um, and definitely um, going back to the breath work is very effective to go into to unlock the trauma that is stuck in the body. Um, and we in our society we have so many other modalities. We have therapy like talk therapy. We have different type of therapy. We have different embodiment, embodied therapy also. So yeah, I think we need to start with the three things: the willingness, um, the willingness, reminding ourselves of the benefit,
Mhm.
and finding ways to sit with the discomfort. And it's not easy. It's really not easy. Yeah, if that makes
Now,
sense.
moving from the emotional side of things, now, what would you say is physical intimacy a contributor in healing any of these traumas?
That's a good question. Um, Again, it all go back first to physical intimacy with yourself. So when we hear physical intimacy, we hear sexuality. So I just want to make sure if like here, okay, let's like physical intimacy as sexuality. Physical intimacy with yourself is when you are not sexual with yourself, but you become comfortable with your own body. When you go into that discovery of your whole body, because the whole body is a whole universe in itself. So I want to differentiate physical intimacy with sexuality. Um, So maybe we can talk about the two aspects, how physical intimacy can help with trauma and how sexuality can help with trauma. Maybe it's two things we can talk about. Um, for physical intimacy, it's as I mentioned, it's really a discovery of your whole body, of your body itself. And that go back into different meditation practices where you feel your heartbeat. Um, in traditional Tantra or in Tantra, Neo Tantra, I don't know if it's in traditional Tantra, but there is this practice of, um, eating with consciousness, conscious eating. It's the whole process of really slowing down and eating and noticing the flavor and noticing the smell. All of that include the senses. And senses are physical. So you can really learn to reconnect with your body um, by reconnecting with your senses. Um, that's one aspect, for example, of addressing deepening physical intimacy. And when you reconnect with your senses, because you create that connection with your body, then you are more able to feel your body's sensation and what are emotions, the discomfort that I talked earlier, they are just body sensation. So physical intimacy to heal Tantra is to heal trauma. It is super important. It's the base. That one side. Then we have sexuality. And we need to be very careful with that. We need to be very careful because in the Neo Tantra world, for example, there are many people who will tell you that they can help you heal your trauma through sexuality. And that's why there have been so many scandals in the Neo Tantra festival because some people will use that with um, with the promise that they can help you heal your deepest trauma, but actually you just re-traumatize yourself. However, if you start with reconnecting with your sexuality alone by yourself, so another aspect of physical intimacy by yourself, then it's already a little bit safer, you're not taking any risk. And for that, it's go back into really like observing your body, touching your body. There is this whole practice of self-pleasure, what we call self-pleasure, and where you are just learning to what feels good for your body. And you can educate yourself. My whole blog, the Art of Intimacy, is about educating people also of understanding their own body um, and so like educating yourself by learning first safely and then inviting a partner in. But I don't think that depending what type of trauma we're trying to heal, um, it can be tricky to invite a partner in just to heal the trauma. Like it's can even be counterproductive. I can maybe give a personal example. If for a very long time, I lived in Japan for a very long time, and I was really I had a big trauma over there in Japan that disconnected me from my own sexuality, and I had like a sexual blockage for many years. And so to be able to heal that trauma, I met someone, my ex-fiance. We're not together anymore, but someone that really played a big role in my healing. And because I felt safe enough with him, together we worked into healing my sexual trauma through exploring our own sexuality together. So, but I was only comfortable doing so because I felt safe with that person. I felt very safe. So, um, yeah, we need to be very cautious when we use sexuality to heal trauma. And anybody who is telling you, okay, be intimate with me because that can help you heal trauma, yes, like think twice, I would say so. And it's sadly very common, especially in the field of Tantra.
I guess you would need somebody who sort of actually has an understanding of trauma and how trauma occurs in the first place.
Yeah, first that. But also, maybe you want to start by having an intellectual, spiritual, or emotional intimacy with that person before going into the physical aspects,
Mhm.
if it's on the purpose of healing trauma. Um, because, yeah, people need understanding of trauma, but not everybody has the best intention. So that's why starting with that layer of intimacy to heal trauma is not necessarily the best way to heal, if I can say so.
Mhm.
But that's my opinion.
Now in
That's my
Tantra, there is a lot of this tantric massages, etc., etc. Now, what was the reason for introduction of these different things within Tantra?
Right. So let's see about like let's talk about the history of Tantra massage. In the 70s, again, there is a group of people who decided that they're going to bring a little bit of different practices together. Massage here, um, like bioenergetic here, and then an element of spirituality, tantra, and call it tantra massage. There is different type of tantra massage. Tantra massage can be just the body without the genitals, and other called tantra massage, which include the genitals. Tantra massage can be two-person, like the therapist is naked too, or it can be the therapist is not naked. So there is not one definition of tantra massage. But very often when we think about tantra massage, it's the whole body, including the genitals. So there is it can help reconnecting with the body sensation that we have disconnected with. Um, it can definitely help. Um, and that's introducing someone external to do so. Um, Again, always the best way to start is really doing it with ourselves. But okay, sometimes we need external help. So yes, it comes from the principle of wanting to heal certain trauma, but and especially sometimes like sexual trauma or emotional blockage in the body. But again, we need to be very careful who is the therapist that we are going to work with, and so like going towards someone that we feel fully comfortable, and so really doing the due diligence before. Um, it's extremely important. Otherwise, we can re-traumatize ourselves. But yeah, I've seen people really healing the disconnection with their own body through tantra massage. Um, I think I saw also other people like disconnecting even more.
Now, what about
Um,
those people who are already in relationships? And,
mhm,
you know, modern society is such that even though that relationship, there might be some form of abuse, maybe verbal
mhm,
abuse, some other type of abuse. Now, they did just sort of take it as this is something normal and this is something that happens in a relationship. What are your thoughts on that?
that's a good question. Yes. So let me just repeat the question so that I make sure that I understand. So, people in relationship who their experience of that relationship become the normal, the reality, and they don't know that there might be dysfunction in that relationship.
Yes.
Um, yeah, if they well, if they don't know and nobody bring awareness to them, then they don't know. Then that's the reality that they are in. But very often, there will be someone outside that will observe the dynamic of that relationship and will bring to the awareness, hey, something is not right here, or something is not right. Um, so sometimes, yes, there is this external factor. Or sometimes we are in the relationship ourselves and our body is giving us clue that is not right, because the body always know better. Again, it go back into the things that the body has this natural intelligence that make us. Um, and what do I talk about natural intelligence? We don't say to a fetus how to grow into a baby and a human. It's just programmed. And there everything is programmed for the fetus to become a baby, to become an adult. That's what I call natural intelligence. And it's within the cell, it's within the body. The same way, the body has its own intelligence of its own. So when we are in a relationship that is abusive and nobody see that because this is within, the body will send a signal. It will, and that's why it's super important to really connect with our body sensation and to pay attention to them. Um, and to notice, okay, my body is sending me signal. That signal is it's not comfortable. It is it's not comfortable. It's not, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel easy. It doesn't feel right. Really noticing that. And then like yeah, being curious of that of this discomfort and this body sensation. And going into and trying to get responses and educate ourselves about what does that mean. So that's one thing, but we cannot do that if we are disconnected with those body sensations.
So there's this
um
saying, you know,
yeah.
something that the heart wants and something the mind wants.
Hmm.
And the heart sort of wants real love, real, a true relationship, and the mind is more of a, I like that, I like this, etc., etc. Now,
Mhm.
sometimes there's a synergy between mind and heart, but in reality, I guess what you're trying to explain within that, that feeling is what the heart really wants.
Yeah, it's um what the heart really wants, and this is where it gets tricky when it comes to trauma. Um, and Because in trauma, sometimes the minds is want to protect us better than the heart. Let's take an example. We have an abusive relationship. There is an abusive relationship, a couple who are like are very abusive. Um, and the mind will understand logically, okay, it doesn't feel good. Something is not right. So it's connected with the body. It doesn't feel good. Something is not right. I need to end that. And then there is the heart who is like, oh, but it doesn't feel good, but I'm comfortable in the discomfort. I'm comfortable with that familiar person. The body is used to that discomfort. The discomfort becomes the new normal. And that I think, or the heart wants to be with that person because there is this, yeah, comfort in the discomfort. Um, like I, I try not to use too much the concept of mind and heart because mind is okay. It's the logical part. Heart. What is heart? I'm curious to know what's your definition of the heart, so that we make sure that we
Heart
talk about
is
the same thing.
heart is more like that yearning from the soul. That it's like a different. It's like the soul calling for something.
Mhm. Okay.
And the mind is more, what modern society has shaped it to be.
Right. Right. Yeah. And I think we need also to include the third part, which is the guts. And the guts for me, it's body reaction, the natural intelligence that we talk about is in it's a mix of heart and gut, the natural intelligence, because the heart will speak through the gut and we will feel it in the body. And then the mind will try to make a meaning, to give a meaning out of that, or it will try to to find logic into all of that. So, like, yes, like listening to the three part, the mind, the gut, and the heart is very important.
Mhm.
um, the mind can be sometimes on our side or not. That's again the tricky part to know because that bring us back that bring us to a very interesting topic is the mind. The mind is a mix of ego and a mix of something beyond the ego.
Mhm.
Um, and the ego sometimes, like most of the time, want to protect us, but doesn't necessarily have our best interest in mind.
Here's a very interesting question some people have
Mhm.
asked is, do thoughts come to us or do we think the thoughts?
That's a good point. I have a very specific answer to that. Um, so there's two things. I think it's both. I think there are thoughts that if we are all interconnected and it's all a place where it's about energy and thoughts really are a certain brain wave, so it's a certain energy. It's my belief that sometimes we pick up on thoughts that doesn't belong to us.
Hmm.
So thoughts that doesn't belong to us will pass through our mind, but because we are not aware that they don't belong to us, we associate it as it's my own thoughts. Um, And then there are thoughts that originate from our own mind, and so we think the thoughts. So it's both. To me, it's both. The thoughts pass through us, but it's also originate from us.
Now,
It's like an,
one of the things
yeah.
I've learned from Saint Rampalji Maharaj is that these thoughts are also sort of, I guess, the thoughts that you're saying are like that signal. They're based
Hmm.
on the karma of a person. You
Hmm.
know, how a thought leads to an action.
Hmm.
And I guess that's sort of that karmic timeline that is sort of being emitted to that specific person.
Yes, that's a very, very good point. Very good point. That karmic, yes, the karma that is, um, but sometimes we pick up on thoughts that are very low vibration because we are in an emotional state that is in low vibration when we are tired and when we are sick. But that's not necessarily karma related, but it's just influence, like we are influenced by because our bodies are not in the body, the antenna, the like, is not in the best shape or condition ever. Um, so yes, there is a part of karma in the thoughts, um, but not always. Let's say, for example, someone who hear these thoughts of doing something that is not nice and doing something that is yeah, not nice. But they kind of know, but they don't, but they still act on it. Sometimes the thoughts are from us, but sometimes they are not from us too. And that's why it's very important to mm, always question our thoughts. Always, always, always question our thoughts. And there is many practices that help us question our thoughts. So yeah, always questioning our thoughts. Is that true? Is that real? Is that really true? And really wondering because we are so much associated to our thoughts, and sometimes they're not even ours, if that makes sense.
Yes, so a lot of people these days, are at a very low vibration. It could be
Mhm.
for various different reasons. So what are some tips for a person to increase that vibration?
Yeah. Um, I would say the first thing is there are so many things. To increase that vibration, let's go by layer. On the physical aspect, I think um, so. Let's go in layers. On the physical aspect, I think you might not hear that often, but what we eat really impact us, really impact our vibration. If you eat, I don't know, like processed food or things that are like sugar or what you put in your body will affect your vibration. Um, and like for example, anything's related to Ayurvedic diet, like it's all about that. It's about really um, paying attention to what we eat so that we can increase our vibration. Um, so really taking care about what we eat. I just discovered some things recently. Like 95% of the serotonin, the this hormone, of happy, good feelings, are in our guts. So it's created in our guts. So it really depends what we are eating. We need to take care of our of what we eat to increase our vibration. I do have a belief that if we eat meat because it's heavy on the body, it's lower a little bit of vibration. But I just my belief. I haven't proven that or anything.
I'm personally a vegan, and I do believe
Yes,
that
yes,
when a
hmm
person eats meat, etc., those hormones within the
yes,
animal, they sort of
exactly.
get passed on to the person as well. Uh,
Yes,
it sort of impacts quite a bit in
yeah,
terms of emotions.
yes, yes, exactly. And also, it's very heavy in the body, so that it takes more time for digestion, and then it lower the vibration. Um, then there is how to higher the vibration. Let's go back to a level. So the level physical, emotional, mental, intellectual, spiritual. I would use that hierarchy. Then on an emotional level, to higher your vibration, you like really, it's always go back into understanding your body sensation, your emotions. Body sensation is really, the saying energy in motion in the body, to really connect with them and to do our best to cultivate emotions that are elevating, the emotions of um, calmness, the emotion of of joy, the emotion of excitement, the emotion of um, can we say appreciation? Is it an emotion, or joy or warm in the body? Um, and to to strategize in the way that we can experience more of this emotion. And then it go into the thoughts level, and the thoughts level practice to increase our vibration. It's meditation is amazing, but it's very challenging for a lot of people, um, because again, like we confuse meditation as I need to have a clear mind, when the meditation is actually I need to become a witness of everything that it is happening within my own body and mind. And witnessing your thoughts is one thing. When you catch yourself, oh, I'm thinking of thoughts right now. Okay. Like that's becoming
And
the witness.
can sort of doing a task also be considered meditation, since, the mind is sort of directed towards that specific task?
That can be, but how likely are you to do a task and really focusing on that task and being fully present? I think it depends on that. If you can do that task in full presence, in like in mindfulness, yes, definitely. But a lot of the time, when we go and do some task, there is a disconnect again. The mind is thinking about something else. The body automatically do the things without being focused on the present moment. So it really depends on the quality of the task that we are. The quality of the task, the quality of presence in the task.
Now that task could be something as simple as thinking about something, or maybe
Mhm.
writing a book, because the mind usually doesn't waver as much when you're sort of focused on reading a book, for example.
Yeah, yes, definitely. It's like let's say I love doing the dishes because it's helped me like having my my I'm really focused into in the sensation also and in the act of doing the dishes. So yes, but again, we need to think like is it a meditation or the distraction? If it's a distraction, then we are not elevating our vibration. If it's really in full presence, then yes. But sometimes we disconnect completely and we do that in autopilot.
Mhm.
And then it doesn't necessarily increase our vibration.
Now, what about things like mantras? Do you think they
Mm.
are a contributor towards this?
So mantras as an affirmation that you repeat yourself, or because there is different meaning for mantras.
Um,
Um,
some people consider mantras as maybe reading a line. Other people, it's more of an actual mantra that's provided by somebody, like
right. Yeah.
a guru.
Exactly. Because in traditional Tantra, mantras is actually, yes, exactly, a sound, a vibration that has its own consciousness, its own vibration. And when it is transmitted to you, you are transmitted a certain vibration and consciousness that you can place in your body. And then it helps you. It helps you with a certain outcome. And then there is what in the modern society, when we talk about mantra, about that line that we repeat, let's say I'm enough, I'm enough. That's people call that a mantra. So there's two different mantra. I think that there again there is a natural intelligence in the mantra. If mantras with just a sound has been used for centuries and has been healing, then yes, like we can use that to elevate our vibration. I have an example to give you. When you look at a baby, the baby, they make different sounds, and some of the different sounds, some are calming to them, or when they hear a sound, some are calming to them. I don't know if you have ever tried to chant Om to a baby who is crying, but you chant Om to a baby who is crying, it's calm immediately. I've tried that with my nephew. It was incredible, when I take care of my nephew. So there is this natural intelligence that can help really smoothen the vibration. And then, so I do personally believe that mantra are helpful in repetition. Even if logically it doesn't make sense, we don't know why that specific sound, but that specific sound has a healing power or hiring the increasing the vibration. And then the other mantra, which is a sentence that we repeat ourselves, and it plays on the intellectual level. So it's a level beyond the mental where we are trying to control the mental. Um, the ability to look at your thoughts and witness your thoughts is happening on the intellectual level when you can observe your thoughts. So those type of mantra play on the intellectual level, but I believe that it can be um, at least in my experience, it has been always harder to just repeat a sentence over and over again and to feel it in the body. Somehow, the sounds as a mantra is more effective, but
Mhm.
I don't have the explanation of why it is more effective.
Now, there's
It's
this
yeah.
saying, the seen and the unseen, the heard and the unheard. That is to
Mm.
say that our eyes can only see this much when there's so much going on in this world, which is
Yeah.
in another energetic level, another dimension, etc. And the
Mhm.
unheard being that we can only hear this much, that
Yes.
there might be frequencies and things around us that
Mhm.
we are unable to comprehend.
Yes.
And, you know, from what I know, a mantra is something like that, that it goes into another dimension. It sort of, it's, it has an impact that is beyond what is visible.
Yeah. Yeah, one thing that I have understand about mantra as a sound, and so how it is practiced in traditional tantra, for example, is that because people are putting a certain vibration and repeating that over and over and over again, and then you gather tons of people who repeat the same sounds over and again with an intention, then it becomes this sort of like ball of energy that hold that vibration, and then that grow and have its own consciousness of its own, not conscious as a human, because it doesn't have emotions or a brain of itself self, but the energy itself. And then that mantra, you just place it again in your own body, and you bath yourself with that body. It's like a shower that you take for yourself with that vibration, and then you are showered with that vibration. And yeah, but then it goes into really knowing how to pronounce, because if it's a certain specific sound, if you make it slightly different sounds, then it's completely different. And that's why in traditional tantra we receive a mantra, but it needs to be transmitted like mouth to mouth, from one to another, because the sound itself is very important.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Um, so how would we know which mantra is effective and which mantra isn't?
Good, very good question. Um, I don't have a very specific answer for that, but my logic is telling me that, well, when you start feeling the benefit of it, then that means that it is working for you. Um, and it's so I've been initiated into traditional Tantra. I received the mantras from a guru. So the mantra is specific sound, right? That you can only receive from a guru. Um, in full honesty, I don't know if that mantra, why this guru has selected this mantra for me. It's on him. Like I don't know why, but my only responsibility is to repeat that mantra over and over again and to feel the benefit for me. So how do you select one more than another? It's just about experimenting and trying to find the one that works for you. And if you don't know which one works for you, I always think that to going back into the original mantra, Om, I don't pronounce it well right now, but for having seen the effect that it has on babies and on even animals, I think this is a reliable one.
I don't
Um,
know if you've read the Gita or something like that. It says Om Tat Sat. That's like an encoded mantra. And
yeah,
those
yeah,
encoded mantras, Tat and Sat, that is
mm,
something only a complete guru or a complete saint would be able to interpret and
mhm,
sort of provide you those specific mantras.
yeah,
So that's something I learned from also Saint Rampaji Maharaj, that
mm,
Om is just one of those aspects to what actually is this very vast creation, and that
mhm.
those real mantras are actually encoded in all of these different scriptures.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I definitely like believe in that. And also when it's not only in it's not only in traditional Tantra that, or in the scripture, the Tantric scripture that we talk about that. We talk about that in a lot of the religion. At the origin, they were the sound. And so like the origin, they were the sound. The sound has power, sound has energy, sound has um, a certain healing aspect. Um, in in certain yogic tradition, like you will repeat, yes, you will chant kirtan, you will chant like certain mantras, but that creates an effect on the body and that make you joyful. Um, it's I think we need to really practice and to see and to experiment it for our own. And then we can really, yeah, just say it for ourselves.
Now, we had this case study within the company where we had two partners who were married, but one of those partners was a much lower vibration, and another partner decided to sort of go into spirituality and increase their vibration.
Mhm.
And that created that imbalance between the two, where one person is thinking things in a different way and another person is thinking things in a different way. So, what would
Mhm.
you suggest in that scenario?
Oh, yes, I get these questions a lot. Like as an intimacy coach, I have a lot of clients also in relationship that goes through that. Um, it's hmm. I Mm, I don't know again if I have an answer for that question because I see two sides. Um, I have had clients who came to me and say, like, I'm exactly as you say, like, I'm going into that spiritual path. I'm really working on myself and building more intimacy with myself and with others. And my partner is not really interested in doing that. What can I do to convince him?
Mhm.
And I think we cannot change a person. We cannot convince. If we can invite them into that world, but it's up to their free will to join or not. And so if we really are high, like increasing our vibration, or um, then we need to come to that realization that we need to accept where the other person is, and so going on our own journey, going on that intimacy with ourselves, and really mourning the needs for a partner to join us in that. So that's one side. And then there's this other side, which is, well, maybe it means that two people are on a different path, and they might need to have a look and at the values within the relationship. So it go back into something a little bit more like relationship, like values, like are we did we grow apart? Are we sharing the same values or not anymore? Does that what does that mean about our relationship? But yes, we can still do our own practice.
Now, within this case study, what
Yeah.
had actually also happened is that one of the partners had cheated on their partner. So there was also that aspect
Mhm.
within that.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I guess like, and then you go back into, okay, our needs are not met with that one partner. So I don't think it's even related to vibration or to it's related more to um the belief that the story that we attach about the fact that our partner is not meeting our need or we have different value. So, and it go back into the first things that we were saying, we are all interconnected. And so the energy that we put out there, it's come back. So how can we um, be the best possible and act the best possible and according to our own set of value? So yes, sometimes people find themselves in situation where they're disconnected with their partner, and so they go into cheating, for example. That does that go in against that person value, the one who is cheated, their own value? Then we are putting ourselves in a situation where we are conflicting with on value and on vibration. So we're doing that to ourselves in a way, if that makes sense. If yeah.
And to sum up this podcast, what are 10 tips you would give to men on how to treat a woman? Just 10
Mhm.
tips, a simple question.
Oof. The first thing is so men towards women. The first things I would say is understanding that the female gender most of the time have more access to their emotions, and it is might be a completely foreign universe for men. And so the first tip is to become familiar with emotions. And it can be on an intellectual level to start, such as being able to name feelings, to label feelings, to describe the body sensation. But it's work. It's called emotional literacy. So it's really to develop emotional literacy. The second tips would be to understand that yes, the your woman is a completely different universe. And so accepting the fact that it's different than you. It's like you cannot compare a car and a motorbike. They might both be vehicle, but they are completely different. So understanding that we are different in nature and making peace with that, full acceptance of that, and not trying for the woman to be like them. The third tips, which I see where it brings a lot of pain, is really becoming into um, more invested into understanding the body of your woman or of a woman, and to be curious about what each woman is different, but to be curious about what make that specific woman or my girlfriend, my wife, or um, what feels good for her body, what is good for her body. And that comes with a lot of discussion with the woman. If she's open to discuss about that, sometimes they're not. And then we have to mourn the need of wanting to understand. But so I think that makes three. The fourth one is a little bit linked with the emotions to understand we all have needs. We all have needs. Um, and it can be a need for affection, a need for physical intimacy, a need for communication. And to really understand what are the needs that are important of you woman. What does she value? What makes her life better? Does she value communication? And to be intimate is really to go back into trying to target to bring that to um, the interconnectedness. If I pay attention to her needs, she will more likely pay attention to my own needs. By giving, I'm receiving. Um, but we need to be first, there need to be a giver. And so, yes, that makes for how many tips right now? We have 4, 5.
Right.
I think 5. Um, wow, you want me 10, 10 tips. It's a lot. um, I, like when I think of it, those 5 are already huge to me because they are already very complex to master. So yeah, I think those 5s is already a good start.
Okay,
If we can, yeah,
that's okay.
yeah, yes.
All right. That's great. And thank you for coming on this podcast. This is where the magic happens, and we will catch you next time.
Thank you for inviting me.